Now, if we go to the text that Dan references, Exodus 21:22, we start to notice a few things if we actually look at it. Dan does get the reading correct. When two people who are fighting injure a pregnant woman so that there's a miscarriage, and yet no further harm follows, the one responsible shall be fined what the woman's husband demands, paying as much as the judges determine. What I want to draw attention to is this word right here, miscarriage, and how particularly Dan chooses to intentionally mislead his audience in what the word actually means. Now, if we go back over to Halot, we get a broader understanding of what this word actually means. If we look at the verbal root of this word as well as the particular stem used in this very verse, we find that it means movement, departure, or emergence, meaning that the child comes out. So the emphasis here is that this is not a miscarriage, it's a premature delivery. Now, that's not to say that it couldn't be a miscarriage and the baby could actually pass away. However, the emphasis is on the premature delivery. The two people arguing hit the woman and she gives birth prematurely. It's the next part of the verse, and actually also verse 23 and 24, that clarify what happens after that. If she gives birth prematurely and yet no further harm follows, then the one responsible shall be fined what the woman's husband demands, paying as much as the judges determine. Here we do get a financial penalty, and that's because no life has been lost. The woman simply gave birth prematurely, and that's not a simple thing. I don't say it like she simply gave birth prematurely, but the end result is that there was no loss of life and there was no further harm that followed. The woman gave birth prematurely and everybody is okay. In that particular instance, then the perpetrator of the crime is issued a penalty by the wife's husband, and the judges determine what the value of that fine should be to make sure that the husband isn't unreasonable. However, if we read the very next verse, if any harm follows, then you shall give life for life, eye for eye, tooth for tooth, hand for hand, foot for foot, burn for burn, wound for wound, stripe for stripe. So here we find if further harm arrives, where either the woman or her child pass away due to the injury and the premature birth and it resulting in a miscarriage, that the perpetrator is held responsible with talion justice or retributal justice. It's extremely clear from the reading of the text and the context of the language that this is not referencing a miscarriage. If it was, there would be absolutely no reason to further include the qualifications of if further harm follows, because the harm would have already been done. The child died. The only reason that particular reference is included is because it's emphasizing that if a premature birth happens, yet nobody dies and the woman is okay after the birth and the child survives the birth, then there is to be issued a penalty because there was a crime committed. But the perpetrator isn't to be put to death because there was no loss of life. So the very fact that Dan tries to spin this the way that he does to intentionally mislead his audience because he needs to keep his reputation with his in-group, I hope that would be enough in and of itself to at least begin to question the validity of some of his claims.